When you're standing in front of an aisle of server chassis and the price tags start looking like a small loan, you start asking the big questions. Who actually needs a 1U box that can chew through 32 EDSFF NVMe drives? Who can live without it and still get the performance they need? And, most importantly, does the cost make sense for a typical data center or edge deployment? If you're the kind of buyer who has wrestled with, do I really need that many high-density drives, before hitting add to cart, keep listening. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about the problem this chassis is built to solve. Modern workloads, AI inference, high-frequency trading, real-time analytics are no longer happy with a handful of 2.5-inch SSDs. They demand bandwidth, latency, and capacity that only a dense NVMe configuration can deliver. The Supermicro SSG 136R NEL32JBF is a 1U, 32-slot, EDSFF, formerly known as JBOF, server that essentially turns a rack unit into a miniature data farm. That's a massive leap in storage density, but it also brings a set of practical considerations that can make or break the purchase. First, who should buy it? If you're running a small to mid-sized data center that needs to host multiple AI models, large-scale databases, or high-throughput video processing pipelines, the ability to pack 32 NVMe drives into a single rack unit translates directly into floor space savings and lower power per TB. Companies that have already invested in a 48-port or 64-port networking fabric will find this chassis a natural fit because the internal backplane can feed each drive at PCIe 4.0 speeds, avoiding bottlenecks when all drives are hammered simultaneously. In short, enterprise customers, research labs, and edge compute providers who already speak the language of NVMe fabric will get genuine value here. On the flip side, if you're a small business or a hobbyist looking for a big storage box to host a few media files or a home lab, this is probably overkill. You'll be paying a premium not just for the chassis but also for the 32 EDSFF SSDs you'll need to fill it. Those drives themselves run a steep price per gigabyte, and the power draw of a fully populated unit can get into the several hundred watts range. For most users who only need a few terabytes, a simpler 2U server with a couple of 2.5-inch NVMe drives will be cheaper, easier to service, and still fast enough. Now let's drill down into the practical strengths. The most obvious win is the sheer density. By moving to the EDSFF form factor, Supermicro eliminates the waste you see in traditional 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch bays. When you populate all 32 slots, you're looking at upwards of 64 terabytes of storage per rack unit if you use 2 terabytes drives, or well over 100 terabytes with 4 terabytes models. That alone can replace a whole row of 2U chassis in many setups, freeing up space for additional compute or networking gear. The backplane's dual-port design also means each drive has a full PCIe 4.0 lane, so you get near-theoretical NVMe speeds across the board, a real benefit when your applications need to read or write data in parallel. A second practical benefit is the built-in thermal management. The chassis features high-efficiency fans and a strategically placed heatsink that keep temperatures in check even when you push all 32 drives to their limits. In my conversations with a few system integrators, they noted that with proper airflow in a standard data center rack, the unit can stay under 45°C on the hottest drive, which is well within the operating envelope for most enterprise SSDs. That means you won't have to retrofit extra cooling solutions or worry about throttling after a few weeks of continuous operation. On the downside, the biggest hidden trade-off is serviceability. EDSFF modules are tiny, about the size of a thumb, and the drive trays are densely packed. Replacing a single failed SSD requires you to open the front, unscrew a retaining latch, and then carefully slide the module out without bumping its neighbors. For a fully populated chassis, that can be a delicate operation, and a slip could damage an adjacent drive. If your organization doesn't have a well-trained hardware team, the risk of accidental damage during swaps rises. Moreover, because the drive format isn't as common as the 2.5-inch standard, sourcing replacements can be slower and more expensive, especially if you're locked into a specific vendor's OEM part numbers. Another practical weakness is power consumption. A fully loaded unit draws roughly 300 W to 350 W, which is respectable for the performance you get, but it does mean you need to account for that load in your rack's power budget. In some older data center facilities where the per-rack power envelope is tight, you might have to spread the drives across multiple units, nullifying some of the space-saving advantages. In addition, the extra power translates into higher electricity costs over time, something that can matter if you're running the hardware 247 for years. Connectivity is also a mixed bag. While the internal backplane is fast, the chassis doesn't come with built-in network ports. You'll need separate mezzanine cards for Ethernet or InfiniBand.